Portuguese people really feel honored by having people from other countries interested in visiting us. And by doing that, we return by being nice. My name is Nuno Fonseca. I'm the founder and CEO of Some Particles, a company that creates 3D audio software for Hollywood studios and big productions. I'm also a parent, husband, and someone that really likes movies. And I'm here as a guest of Portugal, the Single Life podcast. And I was talking about with Dylan regarding the quality of life that you get from living in Portugal.
Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, the Simple Life. And I'm really excited to be joined here by Nuno Fonseca in a very much fancier studio than mine. Nuno, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nuno, why don't you start off telling us a little bit about you?
Okay, so my name is Nuno Fonseca. I'm the founder and CEO at Some Particles, a company that creates 3D audio software that is used mainly in Hollywood studios in productions like Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Oppenheimer, those kinds of productions. I'm 48, married, 2 kids now with 19 and 16 years old. I love cinema. That's what I do on my available time. And I live in Leiria, that is 1 hour north of Lisbon.
I mean, you mentioned how you're dealing mostly with American clients, and you travel every now and then to America. And we've seen now in the last sort of 10 years, Portugal's become very, very popular for Americans looking to not just to come and have a holiday, but to move to come and live here. What do you think is appealing for Americans? What do you think is attracting Americans to come to our little corner of Europe?
I think there are several reasons for people to like Portugal. And you have things like the weather. Okay, it's pretty much springtime the entire year, most of the times. Okay, so you get the advantage like California or Florida. Okay, then we have good food. Then we have Portugal is the 3rd more peaceful country in the world, so it's completely different. For instance, I can tell you that I was only mugged once in my life, and it was in LA. So in Portugal, I spent all my life without even being mugged a single time. So it's very peaceful in terms of security. We don't have all of those problems and safety like some other countries, including the United States. Then we have, although we have a language, Portuguese, that is not English, we have English literacy that is higher than usual. And that's actually, from my point of view, something related to entertainment, because we are a small country, which means that the movies and TV shows that we see on the movies, or we see on the cinemas, or we see on TV, it's subtitled. They are not dubbed like in Spain or French and other countries. And that simple fact that we are not dubbing things and people are always listening to English and then having subtitles makes us have an English literacy that is higher than most average European countries. So, and then on top of that, you have good food, good wine, and nice people. And okay, why not come to Portugal? Because it's a lovely country.
A lot of other European countries, they can speak the language if they wanted to, but sometimes they don't want to. We see it with our Spanish cousins. They come over to Portugal. They won't speak Portuguese. They want to speak Spanish. But there's a willingness with Portuguese people that they're happy to speak another language. Why do you think that is?
I think that, once again, we are a small country. Okay, being a small country, we know that, okay, we are far for being the best, top, richest countries, blah, 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 the number 1 in political influence and geopolitics or whatever. That make us much more willingness to deal with other nationalities in a completely different way. For us, okay, you come here and you come visit us, okay, we even feel like almost like happy to have other countries that are interested in coming to us. And Portuguese people really feel honored by having people from other countries interested in visiting us. And by doing that, we return by being nice.
With the work that you're doing, and you could live in a lot of other places if you wanted to, have you considered living somewhere else? or has it always just been no ways? It's Portugal.
I thought about living in other places, and to be honest, for some time I thought, okay, for instance, living in California, in San Francisco, and LA, okay, that should be a good quality of life and so on. But then you go there and you start understanding that it's not the same thing as you see on movies. Okay, there is a lot of poverty and homeless people. You have security issues and a lot of things that starts to make you rethink if that is definitely the best place for you to live. And once again, when you live in a single place, you start to think, okay, other places are much better, okay, because from what you see in movies, in TV, and all of those things. But then you start to know a little more, a little bit of the world around you, and you say, okay, really, I'm on the best spot on the best place on earth to live. And okay, that's why I continue living here. I really like being here, particularly in Leiria. For instance, I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I thought, okay, when I will go to college in Lisbon, I will spend all of the time there and probably visiting my parents once every 3 months or something like that. Well, actually happened the opposite. I went to Lisbon to study, okay, but every single weekend I was back to Leiria because I have my most of my friends here. What I have a lot of activities here, so you end up returning, and then after college I could stay in Lisbon or other cities in Portugal. But I said no, let's go back to Leiria because I that's where I really love to live.
Looking for a home in Portugal? This break in Portugal, the Simple Life podcast, is brought to you by Dylan and his team of certified realtors at Portugal Realty. Portugal Realty offers the exclusive Simple Life home buyer program. Visit portugalrealty.com today and book your free call to find out more. Welcome to the Simple Life.
With traveling and with going to these different parts of the world, Nuno, especially with your work and things like that, what were some of the things that that you learned to appreciate about Portugal, about our areas on the west? What were some of those things that you thought after traveling, you coming back home, thinking, "Wow, actually, we've got some pretty special things here." What were some of those things that you appreciated?
Pretty much everything related with quality of life. Okay, things like traffic, one of them, security, seeing people around you that are extremely poor, homeless, those kinds of things that you don't see here. Even in terms of injustice, okay, people that if they don't have health insurance, okay, they will have significant health related issues. Okay, in Portugal, our health system it's not perfect. Okay, but we don't. It's not because someone it's poor that is going to have ruin their life. Okay, so it's a lot of things that in the end you say, actually prefer this kind of approach like we have in here. So it's those small things that pretty much it's almost the definition of quality of life. And in the end, what we want is to be happy and be this quality of life every single day. I don't want to be rich and we have one of my kids kidnapped or murdered or whatever. So it's, once again, what is important in terms of quality of life. And I think that I'm on the place that gives me the maximum quality of life that I can have.
Tell us a bit about the work that you're doing with sound particles. People would have heard your work. Probably millions of people would have heard your work, but not knowing that they've heard your work. Tell us a bit about sound particles and what you guys are doing there.
So essentially what we do with sound particles, it's almost like create a CGI kind of software, but for sound. So the same way that you have CGI software to create visual effects for movies. And if you say, I want 100 monsters attacking something or whatever, what we are doing, it's more or less equivalent with sound. So, for instance, imagine that you have you are watching an epic movie, and that epic movie has an epic battle, and of course, someone needs to create the sound of that epic battle. Well, instead of doing the typical approach of simply going to audio software and start putting sounds, an explosion, another explosion, a machine gun, another machine gun, some screens, another gun and shot, and all of the things. Instead of doing something like that, we have a software where you can go there and say, okay, it's a battle, so I want 20,000 sounds spread over an area equivalent of a square mile or something like that. And by doing that, we allow people, especially working with big productions, to get highly complex soundscapes in a much more easy and fast way, which means that the highest the production, the highest advantage of using our software. And then it's why our software is used in these huge productions like Star Wars, Dune, Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible, TV shows like Stranger Things or Game of Thrones. So a lot of things where you want to be able to create these amazing sounds around you. At the moment, we continue the software here in Portugal, in Leiria, in our office. We have a person in LA. We do our business from Portugal to the rest of the world for cinema, for TV shows, for video games, and also for music.
Amazing. I mean, how important is it, for doing the work that you're doing, but knowing that I'm living in a place where I have this quality of life? Does that help? Did that help at the beginning? Did that help to kind of know it's not do or die? Because...
Yeah, but once again, if I instead of spending 2 hours a day on a car on commuting, okay, I have 2 more hours a day to create sound particles. So it's those kinds of things. If you have a much more relaxed weekend, you are going to work during the week with a different mindset. So I think that, yes, the quality of life, it's important. And then finally, and that's also quite relevant, is when you are doing something that you love, okay, it doesn't feel much like as work. Okay, yes, creating a startup, it's always hard. There is a lot of things. It's always swimming against the tides. Okay. But once again, you are doing things that you like. And sometimes during the weekend, I'm working. Okay. Not because, oh my God, I have this work, I really need to do this. But no, you like to do that. And you have some time available. Okay. The wife and the kids are doing something else, and you grab the computer and continue working a little more because you really like doing that. So I think it's all of those things. Better quality of life allows you to have your mind much more free to think about crazy ideas, give you more time and quality time to do things. If I come home very tired by spending a lot of time in the car and all of those other issues, okay, no, relax. And by doing that, you have the better mindset to create something interesting.
What is one thing that you want people to remember and take away from our conversation?
It's the importance of the quality of life. Pretty much what we want is a good quality of life. And sometimes people think that this is only about salary, but like I mentioned, sometimes it's not about the salary. Sometimes you could be in a place with a lower salary and get a much better quality of life doing that. And for me, that's the important thing. Think about quality of life. Think about the things that really matter. Your family, what you do, and the free time, the quality that you have every single day. That's what is important.
But Nuno, a question that we ask all of our guests: Portugal, the simple life. Why?
Because of quality of life.
It's true. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've loved this conversation.
It was a pleasure to be here to talk with you and once again spreading the wonderful things about our country.
And now I'm going to ask you, I'm going to let you call it. It's like what they say at the end of a film, it's a wrap. So, Nuno, over to you.
Yep, that's a wrap.
So thank you once again to our guest, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We always love to hear from you. Don't forget, Portugal The Simple Life also has a magazine, so download it. It's for free. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And as we say in Portugal, sejas bem-vindo. Welcome to the simple life.